What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mel here for another classic review, and what a better way to end this review for the holiday season because tomorrow is New Year's Eve, and what's the best way to send off to of 2022 and the beginning of 2023? I'm doing something different because I did this before with Walls and Gromit. This time, these are my thoughts on the legacy of Rankin Bass from 1960 to until their end of 1983. But before we begin, did you subscribe? Did you hit the bell? If so, tell me what was your favorite Rankin Bass special, film, anything that pops in your mind. Comment down below and take this journey with me. Let's begin, shall we? So yeah, Rankin Bass Animation Entertainment, formerly known as Videocraft International Limited, or Rankin Bass Productions Incorporated, was founded in production company in New York City, known for seasonal television specials, usually done in stop-motion animation. Rankin Bass stop-motion production are recognizably by their visual style of doll-like characters and spheroid body parts and ubiquitous powdery snow using an animation technique called Animagic. Nearly all studios animation was outsourced into Japanese animation companies such as MOM Production, Mushi Production, and Topcraft. Rankin Bass was one of the first Western studios to outsource their low-budget animated television and film production to animation studios in foreign countries. The other countries that already practice animation outsourcing include Total Television and King Features Syndicate Television in New York, and J-Word Production and Hanna-Barbera Productions in Los Angeles. First, we gotta meet before the legacy. It starts with two people. The company was founded by Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jewel Bass on September 14th, 1960 as Videocraft International. The majority of Rankin Bass work included all of the Animagic stop-motion projects which they were well known for were created in Tokyo, Japan. Throughout the 60s, Animagic stop-motion production which they were well known for were created in Tokyo, Japan. Oops. But also, Animagic productions were headed by Japanese stop-motion animator Tadahito Mochinaga at his studios MOM Production. He was credited for his supervision as Tad Mochinaga. Rankin Bass traditional animation output were done by several animation studios such as Toei Animation, which if you don't recognize the name, if you guys are a fan of anime, you'll recognize the name of the studio because they're the guys behind Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, One Piece, and a lot of famous animes throughout the years and going. So you better know they had their helping with Rankin Bass in this one. If you like Rankin Bass and you like Toei Animation, hey, we're in the same plate. Also, we have Aiken, formerly known as TCJ, short for Television Corporation of Japan, Mushi Production, and especially Topcraft, which was formed on February the 1st, 1972 by toy animator Toru Hara, who was credited as an animation supervisor in some Rankin Bass specials. While Topcraft staff, including Hara and an industry legend such as Hayao Miyazaki, which that's a name I think we all should know. If you know that guy, this guy is the co-founder of Studio Ghibli, such as your popular films like Spirited Away and other great films done by him, which he's still up to this day, which I did not know he had something to do with Rankin Bass, which, hey, the more you know. We'll go on to form, like I said, Studio Ghibli in the wake of Topcraft's death. Other form of another studio, Pacific Animation Corporation, which continued working on Rankin Bass titles until the latter company shut down. In addition to the name talent that provided the narration for the specials, Rankin Bass had his own company of voice actors. For the studio's early work, this group was based in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where recording was supervised by veteran CBC announcer Bernard Cohen. The Canadian group included actors such as Paul Soles, Larry D. Mann, and Paul Kligman. Murray Law served as the musical director for almost all of the animated films and television programs. Romeo Mueller was another consistent contributor, serving as screenwriter for many of Rankin Bass' best known productions, including Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Little Drummer Boy, and Frosty the Snowman. One of Videocraft's first projects, of course, was an independently produced television series in the 60s called The New Adventures of Pinocchio, based on the Italian author Carlo Collodi's 1883 novel, The Adventures of Pinocchio, and featuring Animagic, which, like I said, stop-motion animation process using figurine of puppets, a process already pioneered by George Powell's Puppetoons, and Art Clokey's Gumby and Davy and Goliath. If you don't know who George Powell, well, that's another review, because, hey, you heard of the film The Time Machine? That's one of his films. And plus, George Powell's films are quite unique because they're mostly wooden and different scale. If you've seen photos of the sets, which all starts in Holland, then in Britain, and then the US. Well, that's another review for another time, but let's stick to Rankin Bass, okay? Thank you. Managed by Mochi Naga and his MLM production staffers for Videocraft with Dentsu, this was followed by another independent produced series in 1961, The Tales of the Wizard of Oz, Videocraft's adaptation of the 1900 novel The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, as well as the first production to use traditional cell animation. Unlike many of Rankin Bass' works, Tales of the Wizard of Oz was animated by Crawley Films in Ottawa, headed by F.R. Crawley. Now we're going to talk about the Rudolph era, which, of course, this is the one that put Rankin Bass on the map. One of the mainstays of business was holiday-themed animated specials for airing American television in 1964. The company produced a special for NBC, and sponsored by General Electric, later on by NBC. It was a stop-motion animated adaptation of Robert A. May's 1939 story, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, in 1949. The song inspired Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, written by May's brother-in-law, Johnny Marks. Almost 2 decades earlier, in 1948, it had made into a cartoon by Max Fleischer of Fleischer Cartoons, brother and former partner of Dave Fleischer, as a traditional cell animated short for the Jam Handy Film Company. With the American actor Burl Ives in the role of Sam the Snowman, the narrator and Canadian actress Billie Mae Richards as the voice of the main title character Rudolph, and an original orchestra score composed by Marx himself, Rudolph became one of the most popular long-running Christmas specials in television history. It remained with NBC until 1972, when it moved to CBS in 2019. For its 55th anniversary, the special was also aired on Freeform as part of the 25 Days of Christmas franchise, although it will continue to air on CBS under a separate license with Universal Studios. The special contained 7 original songs. In 1965, a new song was filmed in Animagic to replace Where a Couple of Misfits titled Fame of Fortune. That was later reversed, but if you own the Blu-ray, the current one, it still has this two scenes which has that as well. Which, if you seen the documentary, The Magical World of Rankin Bass, another historian talks about that Rankin Bass does their own original music, which they sucker punched Disney, because Disney hadn't did an original song since the 50s, so that's actually fact. because Rankin Bass started from the 60s until the 80s, and they do their original songs always, and Disney hadn't done an original song since 1950s. Right there. And this documentary is from 2018, so it's been a while. See, I don't gotta check if Disney did an original song. But let's get back here. The special contained, like I said, the Sex of Rudolph, led to numerous other Christmas specials. The first was The Cricket on the Hearth from 1967, with 2 live-action announcements by Danny Thomas. Continually in the character designed by Don Duga and Paul Coker. The animation by Jiro Yanatsu's TCJ, or Television Company Japan, followed by the 1968 Thanksgiving special, Mouse on the Mayflower, which, hoo boy, told by Tennessee Earl Ernie Ford. He's a famous folk singer, just like Burl Ives, and animated by Kenzo Masayuka and Sane Yamamoto and Yasuji Muratas. Toei Animation. Paul Coker Jr. will go on to design characters and productions for more than 40 Rankin Bass specials and episodes. The other specials include, based after the success of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, quoting the songs in 1968, and British-American actress Greer Garson provided dramatic narration for the Little Drummer Boy based on the traditional song and said during the birth of Jesus Christ. Starring Puerto Rican actor Jose Ferrer. Hell yeah! Who? Which, I know who that is. He's a well-known actor here in Puerto Rico. Which I did not know. I think he has a descendant here. His full name is Jose Vicente Ferrer de Otero y Citron. Which, his career has been spanned almost 60 years. He's not just notable in the U.S., but he's more well-known in Puerto Rico, just like... I forget his name. Julian? Julian, that's like the guy... The actor who played Gomez Adams from the film. Damn. His first name is Julian. Julian. That's how we pronounce it in Spanish. And to you guys, Julian. But back to here. As the voice of Ben Haraman. During the year, Videographic International, whose logo dominated the Rankin Bass logo in the closing credit sequence, changed its name to Rankin Bass Productions Incorporated. And adopted the new logo and retained the Videocraft byline in their closing credits until 1971, when Tomorrow Entertainment, a unit of the General Electric Company, acquired the production company. The Animagic process for The Little Drummer Boy took place at MOM Production, which was renamed Video Tokyo Production after Tahito Mochinaga left Japan for his return trip to China following the completion of the animation for Mad Monster Party, thus ending his collaboration with Rankin Bass. Takeo Nakamura, the director of Sanrio's 1979 stop-motion feature Nutcracker Fantasy, was among the Animagic team, but he was never credited as a supervisor. Following in 1969, Jimmy Durante sang and told the story of Frosty Snowman with Jackie Verman voicing Frosty. It was based on Steve Nilsson and Jack Rowland's 1950s song of the same name, and also introduced Billy DeWolf as the voice of Professor Hinkle, a greedy magician who tries to steal away the magic hat that brought Frosty to life to become a billionaire. I did not know. Mushi Production, an animation studio founded in 1961, formerly led by manga artist Asumu Tezuka, creator of Astro Boy, Kimba the White Lion, and Ambassador Magma, handled the animation for the special and supervision by Yusaku Steve Nakagawa, a layout artist and character designer from Hanna-Barbera Productions in LA, California. Which, oh boy, that on in the 70s brought another Christmas special, which we all remember this. Santa Claus is coming to town. which Rankin Bass enlisted Fred Astaire as the narrator, S.D. Kluger, special delivery for short, a mailman answering children's questions about Santa Claus and telling his origin story, which involves a young Kris Kringle voiced by Mickey Rooney, and the villainous Burgermeister Meisterburger voiced by Paul Frees, but this won't be the only time Paul Frees and Mickey Rooney appear. To those who didn't see my later reviews about Paul Frees, he's been around for a lot. He's also the voice of Professor Von Drake in Disney. He's also one of the narrator, most recognizable as one of the narrators in the Haunted Mansion, the Ghost Host. If you haven't been in the ride, he's an iconic one as well. The Kringles let her marry the town school teacher, Miss Jessica, voiced by Robbie Lester. Kizo Nagashima, the associate director of Rankin Bass' previous production, was credited as production supervisor. In 1971, Rankin Bass produced their first Easter television special, Here Comes Peter Cottontail, with the voices of, I kind of butchered this one. I got the last name right, but not the first name. It's actually Danny K. Whoops. It's not Jimmy or Johnny. It's actually Danny. My bad. As the narrator, as Seymour as Sassafras. And we also have another famous villain, horror legend Vincent Price, as the evil rabbit January Q Irontail. And Casey Kasman from Hanna-Barbera's Scooby-Doo franchise as the title character Peter Cottontail. And you only have like two famous horror actors in Rankin Bass. You have Vincent Price, who's doing Irontail, and Boris Karloff, who did two characters, Baron Frankenstein from Mad Monster Party, and the Rat from Daydream, which is the sequence of Thumbelina, the rat who sells her to the mole to be his wife. If you're never that scene, based on the stories of Johannes, like Thumbelina, the Little Mermaid, like the Emperor has no new clothes, the Ugly Duckling, those famous classic stories by Johannes. Later, which of course, let me continue. It was not based upon a title song by Steve Nilsson or Jack Rollins, but on a 1957 novel by Priscilla and Otto Friedrich titled The Easter Bunny That Overslept. Yeah, that's actually the original title. It's actually true because Peter sleeps, which cost him the competition, which Irontail won. And he has to fix what he did. This was the second and final Animagic production to be supervised by Kizo Nagashima. Steve Nagagawa was also involved in the special as a continuity designer. In 1977, Fred Astaire returned as S.D. Kluger, and the Easter Bunny is coming to town, telling the tale of the Easter Bunny's origins. Well, he did make a cameo comment about that the Easter Bunny gets more letters than Santa Claus, so he could know because he's delivered the letters. From there, Rankin Bass used Magasaki Lizuka as associate producer and Akikazu Kono as the Animagic supervisor. Back in 1973, Lizuka was the production assistant of Marco, a live-action musical based on the biography of Italian merchant explorer and writer Marco Polo. Filmed at Toho Company in Tokyo and on location throughout East Asia, featuring Kono's Animagic sequence of the Tree People. Previously, he was met by Rankin during the animation production of the Halloween television special Mad, Mad, Mad Monsters at Mushi Production in 1972, and became an integral part of Rankin Bass for many years. After that, in 1974, Rankin Bass Production relaunched once again. An independent production company produced another Christmas special, which we all know what came that year. The Year Without Santa Claus, featuring Shirley Booth in her final role, and voice narrator as Mrs. Claus, and Mickey Rooney returning to voice as Santa Claus. And supporting characters, including the two most popular guys, Snow Miser, voiced by Dick Shawn, and Heat Miser, voiced by George S. Irving. It was Rankin Bass' first Animagic production on which Akikazu Kono and puppet maker Ichiro Komuro share in the production supervision. It was remade as a poorly received live-action special effects TV movie shown in NBC in 2009, starring Delta Burke and John Goodman as Mrs. Claus and Santa. I'm talking about the shitty remake, the shitty remade live-action one, not the good one. Yeah. Watch the good one, don't watch the bad one. Throughout the 70s, Rankin Bass with Video Tokyo and former Toei Animation employee Toru Hara's Topcraft continued to produce anime sequels to its special classics, including teaming of Rudolph and Frosty's 1979 special, Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July, which was the final time that Billy May, the voice of Rudolph, and Vermin as voice of Frosty, will reprise their roles, would be their final time. With the voices of Ethel Merman as Lily Lorraine, the ring mistress of the Seaside Circus, and Rooney again returning as Santa. The special featured cameos by characters from several other Rankin Bass holiday specials, including Big Ben, the Clockwork Whale from Rudolph's Shiny New Year, and Jack Frost from Frosty's Winter Wonderland. Later that year, Jack appeared in his own special, Jack Frost. Narrated by Buddy Hackett. If you don't remember him, he plays Tennessee Steinmetz from The Love Bug, who is the grandson of Mrs. Steinmetz from the sequel film Herbie Rides Again, who defends she including her niece Nicole and the nephew of the villain, Alonzo Hawk's nephew, defending the firehouse against his treacherous uncle, played by Keen Wine. I recommend watching that film. It's actually pretty funny and a classic. But anywho, which Buddy Hackett tells the story of the Winter Sprite lust for a mortal woman menaced by the evil Kozak King Kubla Klaus, voiced by Paul Frees. In addition to Kubla, he voices Jack Frost's leader, Father Winter. In the special, Jack's voice was performed by Robert Morse, who previously voiced Stuffy in the 1976 The First Easter Bunny, loosely based on Marjorie Williams' The Velveteen Rabbit, and young Ebenezer Scrooge in 1978's The Stingiest Man in Town, based on Charles Dickens' famous book Christmas Carol. Among Rankin Bass original specials was 1975's The First Christmas, the story of the first Christmas snow, featuring the voice of Angela Lansbury, who sadly passed away this year, who also starred in the 1982 adaptation The Last Unicorn as the narrator and singing nun, which I did not know. I seen the nun puppet. I seen photos of her. Who did that? When he mentioned, I did not know Angela Lansbury voiced the puppet. That's actually interesting to find out. I'm curious to see that puppet talk. As Sister Teresa and Irving Berling's Christmas classic White Christmas. Their final stop-motion style Christmas story was The Life and Adventures of Santa Claus, taken from L. Frank Baum's story of the same name. What? You thought the man who wrote The Wizard of Oz only worked with the wizard? He wrote this one. And released in 1985. In the story, a great AK, voiced by Alfred Drake, summons a council of immortals to bestow upon a dying Claus, voiced by Earl Hammond, and J.D. Rolfe voicing the young Claus, the mantle of immortality to make his case. The great Ack tells Claus' life story from his discovery as a foundling in the magical forests and his raisings by immortals, through his education by the great Ack in the harsh realities of human world, and his acceptance of his destiny to struggle to bring joy to children. This special was recently released as part of the Warner Bros. Home Entertainment Warner Archives collection, a double feature disc that also contains Mr. the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey, which is often paired with The First Christmas on the holiday broadcasts. Many of the specials are still shown seasonally in American television, and some have been released on VHS, Betamax, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, and digital. And they were, and besides the holiday, they did non-holiday specials. Like in the '60s, you have another one. In '65, so the production of Rankin Bass' first theatrical film, Willie McBean and His Magical Machine, another joint venture between Videocraft and Dentsu, in '66 brought The Daydreamer, the first of 3 films to produce in association with executive producer Joseph E. Levine, Embassy Pictures in L.A., California. In the film adaptation of the stories and characters by Danish author Hans Christian Andersen, with combines live action and special effects and animagic. And The Ballad of Smokey the Bear, the story of the famous forest-fighting bear, seen in numerous public service announcements, narrated by James Cagney. The theatrical feature film, which I mentioned in the review back in October, Mad Monster Party, saw the theatrical release in spring of '67, featured one of the last performances by British actor and horror legend Boris Karloff. Which, remember, he also did narrating for The Daydreamer in '66, and this was a year later, because later that year, he passed away. The film features a fictionate send-up of classic horror movie monsters, adding a beetle-wigged skeleton as send-up of the Arrows pop bands, and writing staff borrowed from Mad Magazine, including cartoonist Jack Davis, who's a famous cartoonist, mostly in EC Comics. If you haven't read, if you don't know the reprints, he's famous for doing the EC Comics of Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, and those famous classic ones we know and love, which inspired many famous directors to do their own spin-offs as well. From '72 to '73, Rankin Bass produced 4 animated TV films for ABC Saturday Superstar Movies, Mad Monsters, with the animation by Mushi, Willie Mays, and the Say Hey Kids, The Red Baron, and The Girl in Wonderland, all featuring the animation by Topcraft. In '77, Rankin Bass produced the animated TV movie, the animated version of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. It was followed in 1980 by an animated version of The Return of the King. The animation rights to the first 2 volumes were held by Saul Zaentz, producer of Ralph Bakshi, animated adaptation of Lord of the Rings. Other books adapted, including The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. A rare theatrical release was co-produced in ITC Entertainment in London, England. Peter Dickinson's The Flight of the Dragons, and Kenneth Graham's The Wind and the Willow, which was animated by Second Overseas Animation until Hanna-Barbera, James Wang's Cuckoo's Nest Studios, now Wang Film Production, in Taipei, Taiwan. In addition to their primetime specials, Rankin Bass produced several regular television shows in traditional animation, including The King Kong Show in 1966, animation, The Tomfoolery Show in 1970, The Jackson 5 in 1971, which is basically like the famed Jackson 5, Michael Jackson and his brothers. The latter co-produced by Motown Productions and Kid Power and the Osmonds in 1972. The most successful was Ted Wolf's Thundercats in 1985, which we all know what Thundercats is. We've seen Thundercats, the original. This is from the original. An action-adventure series based on his related line of toys. It was followed by 2 similar TV shows about humanoid animals, Silverhawks, and in 1986, and Tiger Sharks, as part of the series comic strip from 1987. Each of the 4 series was mainly animated by former Topcraft employees, Pacific Animation Corporation, with production management by Masaki Lizuka. Just before the studio was bought by Disney and renamed Walt Disney Animation Japan. In 1988, neither one enjoyed the same commercial success as Thundercats did, however. Rankin Bass also attempted a live-action production, such as 1967's King Kong Express, a co-production of Toho 76, The Last Dinosaur. 78, The Bermuda Depths. 1980s, The Ivory Ape. All co-produced by Suburata Productions, the creators of the Ultra series, and 1983's Sins of Dorian Gray, with the exception of King Kong Express, all were made for television films. But unfortunately, after the last series output, Rankin Bass shut down its productions company on March 4th, 1987. Arthur Rankin Jr. would split his time between New York, where his company still has his office, and his home in Bermuda. Arthur Rankin would pass away at Hurricane Sound, Bermuda, on January the 30th, 2014, at the age of 89. Bass became a vegetarian. A decade later, he wrote Herb, the Vegetarian Dragon, the first children's book character developed specifically to explore more issues related to vegetarianism. Sorry. The original story and a follow-up cookbook became the bestseller for independent publishing house Barefoot Books. Unfortunately, on October 25th of this year, Jewel Bass would pass away at the age of 87 of this year. In 1989, Rankin Bass joined the forces of James G. Robinson's Morgan Creek Production and Ness Family Entertainment, creator of the Swan Princess franchise, for the first and only animation adaptation of Roger and the Hammerstein's musical The King and I, based on the treatment by Rankin, distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures and Warner Bros. Family Entertainment. The film flopped at the American box office. Stephen Hunter, among several American film critics, criticized the film's depiction of offensive ethnic stereotype. Yeah. In 2021, Fox aired the first new original Christmas special to be produced by Rankin Bass in 60 years, called Santa Baby, which, like most of the Rare Productions company's other specials, was based on a popular, similarly titled Christmas song. Santa Baby stood out from its predecessors due to its African American characters and voice performances such as Patti LaBelle, who played the narrator, Eartha Kitt, Gregory Hines, Vanessa L. Williams, and Tom Joyner. Although Pacific Animation Incorporated was responsible for the overseas animation production of the specials, with the background and art provided by Altier BWCA and the C True Studios. Some of the animation service was done by Steve Han Ho Hwan up in Seoul, South Korea. Santa Baby turned out to be the final Rankin Bass produced special. The Rankin Bass partnership was officially dissolved shortly after, with most of these remaining assets acquired by Warner Bros. Entertainment. Currently, the pre-September 1974 Rankin Bass library, including works of Videocraft International, is owned by NBC's Universal of Universal Pictures via DreamWorks Animation, DreamWorks Classics subsidiary, while Warner Bros. Discovery, through Warner Bros. Unit, owns the rights to the post-74 library via Telepicture. NBC Universal also regained the rights to the King Kong Express, and also currently holds the rights to Willie McBean and his Magic Machine, again via DreamWorks Classics. Studio Canal holds the rights to the films from Rankin Bass that NBC Pictures distributed, while ITV Studios currently holds the rights to The Last Unicorn. The rights to the 1999 animated film adaptation The King and I are currently held by Morgan Creek Entertainment. For over 20 years, most of Rankin Bass films were shown on the Family Channel or Freeform during the December 25 Days of Christmas seasonal period. Starting in 2018, the post-74 specials moved to AMC and aired during the Best Christmas Ever seasonal period. With Freeform retaining the pre-74 specials, cable rights, The original Rudolph and Frosty special currently aired on CBS under a separate contract with Rankin Bass, and its successors in entrance was Santa Claus Come to Town to airing on ABC. The special of Rankin Bass has been parodied by the likes of TV series like Saturday Night Live to South Park, while non-holiday works like The Last Unicorn maintain a cult following. The look and style of Christmas specials heavily influence more modern holidays such as Elf 2003. Beginning of 2013, and for several years thereafter, the animation studio Shadow Machine was hired by the so-called Honda dealer group via Secret Weapons Marketing to create a stop-motion anime commercial in the style of Rankin Bass Christmas specials. Which I think I've never seen this one back when I was in high school during the holidays. Seeing this commercial, like, what the hell am I seeing? Looks like Rankin Bass. Riff tracks consisted of former Mystery Science Theater alumni Kevin Murphy, Bill Corbett, and Michael J. Nilsson spoof Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey on December 17th of 2009, this time with just Nilsson himself rifling. In this year, an agreement between Warner Bros. And NBC Universal, which co-owns Studio Distribution Service LLC, was made to release a complete Rankin Bass Christmas collection as a 9-disc DVD box set with 24-page booklet and special features. The book set features 18 specials comprising every standalone Rankin Bass produced Christmas special aside from Santa Baby. And yeah, people, in the list of studios that were involved, you got the Japanese studios like MLM Production, Toei Animation, TCJ, now Ekin, Mushi Productions, Topcraft, Pacific Animation Corporation, the Anime International Company, Anime R, Mook Animation, Asteria BWCA, and See-Through Studios, all located in Tokyo and Osaka, Japan. And the others were Crawley Films from Ontario, Canada, Hala and Bachelor from London and Stroud, UK, Moro Studios, or in Spanish, Estudios Moro in Barcelona, Spain, Cuckoo's Nest Studios, now known as Wang Film Production in Taipei, Taiwan, Hongying Animation in same place, Taipei, Taiwan, and Hanho Wang Seoul in Seoul, South Korea. And there, my friends, is the legacy of Rankin Bass. And tell me, what was your favorite special from all these? Because, hey, we all have a very one special that we like when we were a kid or we see it a bunch of times. It was from their theatrical films to their Christmas special to their non-holiday specials. Including their, I don't know, me, this has been a legacy for over 20 years. And to this day, people always wonder if they're going to make an official documentary about Rankin Bass. There was a 40-minute documentary that was released in 2018 called The Animagic World of Rankin Bass. I think it came out with the holiday specials. You can watch it. I don't know which one. It's on YouTube, actually. If you type The Animagic World of Rankin Bass, it's right there. You can watch the documentary right there. It features the Kyoto brothers, Henry Selick, I forgot his name. He directed Paranorman, and you have other people talking about Rankin Bass as well, and what they inspired them to become stop motion director makers, made films. And as you know, sadly, Joel Bass passed away this year on October 25th in the age of 87, which marks the end of Rankin Bass with him. But their legacy lives on to those who sing the Spirit specials, who inspired filmmakers to do their own stop motion. Famous ones like, you got the people behind, well, you got a lot, because you got a lot of people inspired by Rankin Bass. Because, hey, It all starts when you see those specials on TV, and you got curious how they've done it, including those toy-like puppets and everything. And it gets you like, damn, I want to know how to do that. Which gets you the click right there. But yeah, to the men who founded, to their friends in Japan, you made our childhood. You inspired many famous filmmakers who did stop motion and who they are today. We salute you and thanks for the memories. Both Oliver Rankin and Jewel Bass, rest in peace. As for their current companies like in Japan, which are still going strong, most like Toei Animation, even like I said, they're hitting big with their animation lineups, including others. But hey, don't let me keep talking. Comment down below. Tell me what was your favorite Rankin Bass special. It would be the holiday specials and not holiday specials, the theatrical movies. Tell me down the comment down below. And hey, tomorrow's a new year. Let's hope it's a better one. For Christ's sakes. But until then, if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe, hit the bell, punch it good. Let's hope it will be a good new year for tomorrow. And to all of you, a very, very happy new year. That once said by Father Time. Have a happy new year. And I hope it's a good one. For goodness sake. But until then, see you in the new year, people. And take care. Now I'm falling. Whee!